Hello and welcome to Good or Bad. They're back. The Krites have returned to bestow more bloody chaos upon our screens.
Critters 2,
the main course. The first Critters movie was a barrel of fun, and director Mark Garris's sequel is no different. Released in 1988, 2 years after the original, it features returning cast members Scott Grimes, Terrence Mann, and Don Keith Opper, reprising their roles to do battle with the nefarious Krites. Now, I have already said that the sequel is fun, but is it as fun as the original? Let's find out together! In the dark recesses of space, our fearless bounty hunters have just wrapped up a hunt. And we see that our old goofy friend Charlie has joined them. I like that they made him a bounty hunter in this film, because it helps make him a more central character to the story. In the first one, he was just the town drunk and only really did something towards the end. To quote him in this film, he now has a job and a purpose. As for the other two bounty hunters, they now have names. Ugg and Lee. Unfortunate names. Gotta say though, I do prefer the glowy green heads from the first film. Even the transformation scenes were better in the first one. They just glow blue now. Definitely looked cooler before. But anyway, they get a call telling them of a Krite presence back on Earth.
The G-sweep of the planet Earth indicates residual Krite life.
You look alright, but you're no prison warden. Praise him. So they get dispatched to good old planet Earth. I'll live there. It's overrated. Speaking of Earth, after the night of the Krites, the Brown family vacated the fictional town of Grover's Bend, because no one believed Brad about what happened that night. But Brad is returning to Grover's Bend to pay a visit to his grandmother. Sucks for him that this is precisely when the Krite eggs that we used as sequel bait in the last film have started to hatch. That is after a couple of people sell them off as Easter eggs, which leads to a lovely scene of the town sheriff being eaten alive while dressed as the Easter Bunny. Oh, very nice. When Brad finds out about the Krites, he uses the device that the bounty hunters gave to him to call them for help. As it happens though, the bounty hunters were already on their way, so the device was never really needed. Just too bloody efficient. That's what they are. Yeah, the band is back together as they go on the hunt for Krites. Also, Lee transforms into a Playboy model. I'm just going to leave that one. After disturbing the Krites during a burger craze, oh, I love that scene. Lee then almost turns into one of the 1980s biggest horror icons.
What are you doing? No! That's it. Good.
Oh, they so should have. Come on, Robert might have said yes. I mean, he did far worse Freddy movies. The Krites kill Lee, and Ugg screams in rage, and then transforms back into blandness, and just sits in church, contemplating his deep and profound personal loss for a character that we as the audience barely knew, so it's kind of hard for us to get on board with feeling bad about losing them. Which is what a monster would think! Not me, I didn't mean it, but you lot were agreeing with me. Yeah, you heartless robots. With Ugg out of action, it is up to the rest of the town to band together and defeat the Krites. This involves Brad practicing hockey. Not sure how that was hockey, but it was something. Probably wasn't hockey. Definitely wasn't hockey. Definitely not. But then, the ex-sheriff saves his life when he's cornered and comes in with two guns. I was going to say duel, but I ended up saying tool a little bit there. But yeah, dual revolvers, like a cowboy. He's like, and it looks cool. And he had a one-liner, bit of Arnold in there. Yeah, it was good, really good. Dramatic, cool, bit of comedy, it was nice. Guys, can you just play the clip, please? Come on, you're killing me.
I'm back.
I now promote you to Sheriff Badass. Yeah, I ideally would have had a sheriff's badge that said Sheriff's Badass, but that's all I had. Props department is a bit tight on budget these days. So, like and subscribe. helps out. Let's move on. After Brad is called bad news in shoes, which is an amazing insult that I'm totally going to steal, they come up with a plan. The best kind of plan. The kind of plan that used to be head of plans at the International Agency of Planning Plans, but has since moved on to be head of the even more international agency, a super duper international agency of planning plans that are bigger than your plans could ever possibly have planned for. It's a bloody good plan. Just made that up on the spot. Stolen a bit from Blackadder, but still. The plan is, fill a place up with burgers and lure the Krites in to blow them all up. Oh, that actually worked. That's nice. To be fair, Ugg decided to help out by shapeshifting into a big Krite and leading them all in. There was one point where the big herd of Krites were going towards all of the people because they decided they wanted to snack on some alive meat. And I love how Ugg, while disguised as the big Krite, convinced them all to go to the burgers instead. Can't deny this movie does have a strong promotion for boneless meat. Sorry, my immature brain just couldn't walk away from that one. The townsfolk then watch as all the Krites are blown to hell. But hang on a minute. There's a good 10 minutes left in this film. I'm not actually wearing a watch. I've been robbed. Ha! I love it. Then Charlie, who disappeared during the cheeseburger plot, which I didn't think I'd be saying today, but he comes back to save the day by crashing the spaceship into the big old Krite ball of death. Don't worry, he parachuted out at the last minute. I can tell you we're all very concerned. All's well that ends well, except for Charlie, who gets abandoned on Earth by Ugg, despite the fact that Ugg spent the movie telling him that he would never ditch him because he is officially part of the bounty hunting team. Good message! Krites 2 is the same kind of dumb fun that the first one was, but while it does improve in a few key areas, it does drop that Krite-filled ball of doom when it comes to a few certain aspects. But first, the good stuff. The death scene saw a vast improvement with a higher body count as the action spread out into the rest of the town, rather than being confined to the Brown family farm. The confinement to the farm wasn't necessarily a problem in the first film, far from it, but it was a smart move to have the sequel open itself up to the wider town, which led to some characters from the first film, such as the sheriff or Lin Shaye's character, having much more to do. And this is something that benefited Charlie's character the most, because like I said earlier, in the first film he's just the town drunk, he didn't do much until the end. But here, they make the decision to turn him into a bounty hunter, which helps mould his character into a more essential part of the story. Which is great because I think Don Keith Opper was a lot of fun in this role. I also think the visuals are better in this film, especially when it comes to the Krites, because in the first film they went for a very visually dark tone. It was kind of hard to make out the Krites in some scenes. You could say this was done deliberately to make them seem more alien, a bit more threatening, and that's fine for that film. But I like in this one that they're nice and clear and you can appreciate their little evil fluffball design all that more. But like I said, it wasn't all a step up. Despite the kill scenes being better, there are a few scenes where the Krites feel less threatening than they should. I mentioned earlier that Brad looked like he was playing hockey when he was whacking all the Krites out of the way, and that was kind of funny and all, but in the first film, if they got that close to you, you were screwed. Granted, he did need to be saved, but just the image of him booting them away did make the Krites seem less intimidating. Imagine if you could even temporarily hold off a xenomorph like that. It would strongly diminish the monster's intimidating prowess. Ooh, that almost sounded professional. And while the Krites may have looked better, they did take a step back with some of the design changes they went with. As I said earlier, the first film had those green glowing heads which did look silly, but silly is a huge part of these films. And green glowing heads look cooler than the bland masks they wear in this film. And the transformations looked way better in the first film as well. It looked like gritty sci-fi, with the flesh rapidly growing on their skulls. Here they just glow blue. As I said before, it's definitely a step backwards. And it shares the same bounty hunter problem. They still have no character, which is a bigger problem when one of them is killed off. to the point where you forget that that character died like 2 minutes after it happens. And to be honest, the movie forgets it happens as well by the end of the film. Overall, I have to say that while it is a lot of fun and not a bad horror comedy to watch at Easter, it's not quite as much fun as the first film. I gave Critters a 6.5 out of 10, but with Critters 2, I'm going to go with a 6 out of 10. It is fun, and it is above average within its genre, but it's just not quite as good as the first film was. You've been watching Good or Bad, and if you have enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you next time. The Krites kill Lee, and Ugg screams in rage, and then transform. Yes. To be fair, Ugg decided to help out by shapeshifting into a big Krite and leading them all in. Effed that line up, didn't I? I love it. I love it. What was that noise?